Bases dropped on a Friday. It's a Freestyle Friday here on Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here. John here, you there, Madison Cruz on the ones and twos. And we're getting you ready for the weekend across everything. In the show today, you will hear from Ian Cameron, head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, as they get ready for their season opener against Central Valley Fuego in USL League One. Hour number 2, and maybe a little bit of hour number 1. We'll get you ready for everything because we got to talk about Atlanta United in the home opener. That's going to be the QOD. That's your question of the day when it comes to what you want, what you're thinking, all those kinds of things. I need your expectations going into the home opener other than hopefully staying as dry as possible. So we've got weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. That's going to be in hour number 2, previewing everything in Major League Soccer and previewing everything in all the other divisions. Remember yesterday we had Kaylor Hodges come on from the USL show, at the USL show. And we went through the street fight that we think the West is going to be. The East won't be any different in USL Championship. We've got USL League One. Like I said, we've got Ian Cameron. Sound from him as they get ready for Jermaine Jones and Central Valley Fuego. That should be worth the price of admission in and of itself. Jermaine Jones on the touchline. Over under on how many matches it's going to be before he gets carded. And I mean that in a yellow and a red sense. Tarjeta amarilla, tarjeta roja. That. We'll see what that is. I don't know if anyone knows what to expect from Jermaine Jones as a coach on the touchline. We'll find that out starting this weekend. Tormenta, Central Valley Fuego in USL League One. Like I said, we'll go over all the matchups, USL League One, USL Championship, Major League Soccer, all of that. That's an hour number 2. Hour number 1, we'll look back at last night. Couple of things happened, and we'll spend some time in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza and go over what happened in a couple of locations, because a couple of locations had a couple of things go down, and we'll get into that. Also here in the early part of the show, we'll go over a little bit of housekeeping, obviously opening kickoff and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll get into all of that. I need to know what's on your mind as we head into the weekend. Bunch of different levels. And like I said, it could be Atlanta United. It could be Atlanta United and the women's national team in San Diego, hopefully playing in less rain and water than the slip and slide that they were in a couple days ago. So whatever's on your mind for the weekend, we'll finish up with gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, all that kind of stuff for Friday and a little bit of Saturday. We got to go over the announcer assignments for Major League Soccer as well. So we'll get into all of that. All right. Now, run the roll call here this morning. Morning, Ricky. Morning, Dell. Jordan. Morning. I will get to that. I'll get to that. And morning, Alex, because, all right, David, I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because it's Friday. There it is. There it's done. All right. So now, David, you can come back and listen. All right. Come on back in. It's okay. That's done. All right. So last night, it was fun to be at North DeKalb Stadium for the second time this season. And we got to see region rivals going at it on the boys and girls side with Druid Hills and Clarkston. Druid Hills put up a big number in the girls match. And the boys match was just this side of kooky. I mean, it was frenetic. It was frantic. It was chaotic. There really wasn't any rhythm. Both teams just decided to sit there, and it's like, all right, tell you what, we're going to run. You try and catch us. Oh, okay, then we're going to run, and you try and catch us. And you had that for a full 80 minutes. And you can go back and listen on our Mixlr platform, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com, if you want 80 minutes of chaos. Final score was 1-0 Clarkston on a goal off a set piece, a free kick from basically 45 yards out. The keeper for Druid Hills looked like he mistimed his jump, goes over his head just at the edge of the 6, bounces behind him, trickles back into the net. That was the only goal on the boys' side. Craziness there at North DeKalb Stadium last night in a big region matchup in Quad A in the GHSA. Tonight, whether rain or shine, doesn't matter. Collins Hill, Mill Creek on the network, 5:30 and 7:30. Jason will have the girls match first. I'll have the boys match, and that'll be on the Mixlr channel as well, soccerdownhere.mixlr.com. Collins Hill and Mill Creek, 1 and 2 in the region. and they're going to be going at it tonight. And once again, we'll have the activity tomorrow with Atlanta United, 92-9 the game. Our pre, our post, Garrett and Abe, they're going to lead you in. They're going to get some help from Garth Lagerway. They're going to get some help from Mike and Jason. Going to be a very, very busy day for a lot of folks on Saturday, and looking forward to seeing everybody for the home opener here in 2024. All right, so opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching, however you're watching, either on the YouTube channel, on Twitch, or on the 280-character app. Use that QR code with our friends from Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, and you use the code soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives, very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Morning forecard, and yes, it is a Friday. All right, last night in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, we had a couple of moments. Well, and actually, the second match had a couple more moments than the first match, but it was intriguing to say the very least. You had subplot, and it was an interesting night at TQL because the one goal that was scored came from a dude that knew that building intimately. Good morning, Abby. And so here is that particular moment in time presented once again by our friends at CONCACAF. And we'll go ahead and say FS2. I haven't heard this, so this will be me learning along with you. So this is what happened last night. The one moment in the matchup at TQL with our friends at FC Cincinnati.
As Gallardo moves it out wide, Maxi Mezai could be in, centering for Vasquez! He's done it! He scored against his former club at TQL Stadium!
There you go. So Brandon Vasquez gets the goal on the board. Joe Malfa on the call for CONCACAF and FS2. So Brandon Vasquez gets the goal for Monterrey in the 24th minute, and it held up. Monterrey 1-0 winners on the road. They got the road goal. They have the advantage going back home against FC Cincinnati. So 1-0 winners, Monterrey over FC Cincinnati. That was the early game last night in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza. So now we go to the nightcap. And suffice to say that the nightcap was completely and totally off the rails. And I mean it was off the rails. I ain't kidding. Frankly, you look at the match in and of itself, and you wonder after the first 45 minutes, how, I ask how, not quite like Ross Geller and asking why and going, why, but how Messi and friends didn't finish the first 45 down to 9 guys, which is 4 more than some of our favorite burgers. Honestly, I don't know how a shot to the chops with an elbow doesn't get you a red. Legitimately. And I think it was Schaffelberg. I think it was Schaffelberg that got it was a back elbow to the chops. To the chops. I mean, literally backwards and right on the chops. I don't know how that's, for a double negative that'll drive my mother crazy, I don't know how that's not a red. And then late in the half, and you have to really see it because I think it was Gomez. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Gomez that had the elbow and went backwards. Then, and I think it was Schaffelberg that got picked on again. As the fourth, and literally you have to find it, and folks have like spot shadowed it, and they've come up with that particular moment and turned it into a GIF. As the fourth is holding up the board to express how many added minutes there are, you see another player for Messi and friends basically take out. Oh, so it was Redondo. Thank you. Okay. because I thought it was either Gomez or Redondo, and it looked like Redondo, and of course, me not being at top speed, trying to see what's going on. So, all right. Second moment, once again, you see, and I want to say it was Schaffelberg again. Schaffelberg gets cleaned out, and literally what you see is the fourth hold up the number of minutes. Added a couple of minutes. Tata's trying to ask, why there's this many minutes being put on the board. And you see, I think it was Schaffelberg get cleaned out. I mean, literally, he's running away from the underside of the board. They have the camera shot. They have the camera shot going up, and you see the board, and it's being held up by the fourth. And then underneath the board, literally, and you look underneath the board, and you see it absolutely clean out Schaffelberg again. Two different dudes. And thank you for clarifying that it was Redondo, for those of you that watched it live. I don't know how those weren't two red cards. I really don't. I really don't know. So, Inter Miami ends up with 11 players. They were fine. But Nashville had scored and taken a lead. And how many times have we talked about Nashville and them having a lead and then not keeping said lead? Schaffelberg scored in the fourth. Then he scored again in the 47th. 2-0, you've got a lead. And then, I don't know what, once again, you step on Superman's cape, you spit in the wind, you don't pull the mask off of the Lone Ranger, and you don't mess around with Slim. Lionel Messi scored, made it 2-1. And I don't know, once again, how you don't get, for once again, another double negative, and I'm sorry that I'm driving people crazy about it this morning. I don't know how Lucas McNaughton doesn't get a red or even a card as he stomped on, as he was following through, and his spike, his cleats end up on Messi, and Messi goes down. At 2-1, you see McNaughton come through, and he hits Messi right in the calf. I don't know how that's not a card. I don't know how that's not, at least a card. So it could have been 10v9. Instead, it wasn't. And then at 2-1, at 90 plus 5, at the absolute death of deaths, Luis Suarez, El Pistolero, 2-2. So the advantage that Nashville had, thanks to you, Jacob Schaffelberg, ends up at the end of the evening at 2-2, and they go back to South Florida next week to try and wrap this one up. Nashville had their chance. Nashville had their chance, and they didn't close the deal. Again. So you end up, so there you go. It was another night in CONCACAF, which I feel like that should be like one of those below the radar documentaries. Another night in CONCACAF, like one of those film noir kind of things that you would see when we were growing, like shoot it like in black and white, maybe like Casablanca. So some folks thought that Messi and Friends should have been down 2 after the first 45. McNaughton should have got at least a card for popping Messi in the back of the calf. Didn't happen. And so opportunities were there for Nashville, and now they're going to have to try and accomplish it on the road next week. Good luck on that. So there you go. The Palace intrigue continues once again. So, so it was an interesting evening. So Nashville had their chance. And honestly, as we talked about it yesterday, I thought it would have been the reverse with Nashville. I thought that Nashville would have made this one of the most unappealing 90 minutes of television ever. But when the defense for Messi and Friends is what it is, and I'm looking at one individual in particular who is now right back, you get a 1-0 lead in the fourth minute, and you end up changing your plans, having to kind of invert your idea a little bit. You had a 2-0 lead. You couldn't hang on to it. And I think all you did really was get Lionel Messi mad. I think that's what happened. Dell was like, Donnie G's not going to let Miami get a red card. That'd be Victor Montagliani, the head of CONCACAF. I don't know if Donnie G had anything to say about it, Dell, but yeah, Victor Montagliani, I'm sure. You get the excuse me, hello. Yeah, so it might have been Victor Montagliani, but could have been 10v9 in some circles last night in Nashville. Nashville had a 2-0 lead, blew it, finished at 2-2, and they're going to have to try and win it on the road. 4-card. All the reffing-ish is just part of CONCACAF. Absolutely true. Reason you call it getting CONCACAF. David would blame the replacement officials being awed by Messi and friends, but it's CONCACAF and not MLS. Michael Valverde, the Redondo elbow, not on the edge, but not absolute red. Came through Schaffelberg, and he didn't wind up. I mean, I know he didn't wind up, but still, you're trying to clear somebody out. So I could see it. I could see it being called, and I could see it being varying degrees. But apparently, it was just like card optional last night at Geodis. Packed house. And by the way, Nashville did send out a correction on the supporters section, when we were talking about earlier in the week where you were allowed to wear anything that you wanted in the supporters section, the seated support, or the triple S, the seated standing supporter section, whatever the section was. But yeah, they issued a correction on that. So what was initially put out there ended up being a little different. The way that they rephrased it at 5:30 in the afternoon, after that initial salvo came out of like, how are you letting folks with the opposing jerseys in the supporter section? They meaning Nashville did come out with a statement late Wednesday afternoon, and they go, no opposing team jerseys or colors will be allowed in the supporter section. Anyone entering the area in opposing jerseys or colors risks being removed from Geodis. Seated areas next to the supporters section, the seated supporters section, now considered general seating and were mistakenly labeled seated supporters section. Opposing jerseys and colors allowed in the seated sections as well as other seated areas in the traditional fan code of conduct applied. Additional stadium staff will be in place at the entrances and lower bowls to ensure the safety of all guests and the integrity of fan seats. Nashville apologizes for any confusion that may have caused. And trust me, there was a lot. So Nashville did come out with a correction. Jordan says also had a goal disallowed. Nashville would have been 3-1 at that moment. Yes, and Michael, you are correct. Nashville parked the bus. I honestly thought that the parking of the bus was going to happen first. But when you get a 2-0 lead and you're trying to get out the door, then that's when it happened. You end up giving up a goal to Messi. Craziness ensues, and you end up with a 2-2 draw by the time of the night was over. And David, yes, Anibal Godoy, and if you want a reason to get really mad, I mean, Anibal Godoy wasn't backing down from anybody. And Anibal Godoy was more than happy to have a discussion with Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez, and that coming together that they had in the middle of the pitch, literally where they are woofing back and forth at each other. Anibal Godoy not backing down from anybody. Wasn't that way in San Jose, not that way in Nashville. But Anibal Godoy, he wanted a piece of the action. He was about ready to throw down. And our friends in the Mid-South might have thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah, Godoy, after going after Messi for what I assume was not playing the ball out, was interesting. Suarez maybe gave with a nice two-handed shove. Refs seemed to only admonish Godoy. Seemed the Miami player would have gotten a yellow, two hands just under the chin. So, yes, that was another incident that just kind of was. But, I mean, honestly, if we sit there and take it in its prism, we sit there and we take it in all of its context and glory. If he wasn't calling nothing, then he ain't calling nothing. And the fact that he didn't call anything, he was consistent. I guess we could phrase it that way. If you're going to call something and then not, then I think you would sit there and say, okay, he's being inconsistent or he's going to extremes one way or the other. But across the board, if you ain't calling nothing, then you ain't calling nothing. At least you were consistent. I guess we can look at it that way. Emilio dropping a Bad Boys reference. Soccer players are soft. I wonder if Bill Laimbeer can play midfield and dish Messi some pain. Bill would have to have caught Messi first, Emilio, and then Godoy and could you imagine Godoy and Laimbeer trying to track down Messi? Bill Laimbeer would have been running and chasing. There would not have been any unless it was like if you had say what Rodman and Laimbeer before Rodman went to the Bulls. You got to find somebody to stop his progress before you can sit there and try to clean him out. Any one-on-one coverage with Laimbeer and Messi's going to run rings around him and try to track him down, and it's going to be foolish, and you're going to look like you're chasing shadows, which you were. Yes, Emilio, you are correct. When doesn't Nashville not park the bus for another double negative this morning? Abby hated Bill Laimbeer, dirty player. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Laimbeer and the Bad Boys and Chuck Daly, no doubt about it. Yeah, like I said, Nashville, I think, inverted the way that we think that they were going to be doing things. It's you get a lead, then you park the bus instead of park the bus and try to get out with a draw. So the world flipped on Nashville, still ended up being a 2-2 draw. Pars. Did anyone else notice comments about Miles up until the Lennon interview yesterday weren't always completely positive? I know they like him, but do we think the dragged out contract negotiations maybe put a damper on his image in the locker room? Don't know. Like I said, Miles is a different dude. I mean, he's a different cat. And when it came to the contract and the offers for Miles, there's only so much you can do. If I'm not mistaken, the CBA only allotted for a player of Miles' status a 30% increase in salary maximum. I mean, you couldn't sit there and go, all right, fine, open the barn door and we're going to give him, $98 million a year. Couldn't quite do that because of how the CBA is structured. And so the end result of that was it was a high TAM offer, and it had been on the table, and Miles chose not to take the increase to be a high TAM. He wanted to go and try his wares in other places where he could get more than that. And it ends up with a 1+1 in Cincinnati. But inside the locker room, don't know. But remember, Atlanta could only offer so much, and it was on the table for a very long time. Miles had the chance to think about it, and Miles wanted to try and test the waters elsewhere, and he ends up in Cincinnati. And now it's Miles and DeAndre Yedlin at the right-hand side for Cincinnati. So we'll see what happens there. But inside the locker room, don't know. Don't know about his image. Back to Bill Laimbeer. Ricky, it's different when you have to come in Bill's paint running around him. True. Laimbeer only needs one shot. That's true, Emilio. Yes, absolutely. And 90s basketball was a different world. Ricky's correct. You could do things like that in the 90s. But once again, try and track down Lionel Messi. Not necessarily going to happen. So the first go-round of everything in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza with your triple C fever. Since it's not CCL fever anymore, it's CCC fever, I guess, is the hashtag. But intriguing to say the very least, now that we're out the other side of it, and we kind of get to see what's going on with the matchups. We'll get a couple of days to sit there and digest everything. But Nashville had a lead, and the center ref and the AR is not calling anything. So let's see. With everything being equal, with what happened with the 2-2 draw, everything being equal, what's going to go down in Fort Lauderdale for leg number 2? So it will be very interesting to see what will transpire in round 2 in Fort Lauderdale. Everybody's talking about Messi getting the calls. Then what's going to happen with Messi and the calls down in South Florida? So we will see. Oh, wow. Abby, I did not know this. Abby, you're an amazing human being. Happy National Hash Brown Day. Scattered, smothered, covered, chunked, and topped. Or, depending on my mood, triple order hash browns plain to go with my grilled cheese wheat on 2. Traditionally. That is how it plays for me. It's either I want a lot of stuff on it and I'll get like a double order, and just have that as the meal, or triple order plain and have the grilled cheese sandwiches with it. Grilled cheese, wheat on 2, triple order hash browns plain. That is one of the stock orders that is there for National Hash Brown Day. God bless you for letting us know this. Yeah, we do need to make a Waffle House trek, Ricky, but it's got to be like 11:45 at night, like late when you're really, or first thing in the morning. That's when it's got to be. Abby says if you're a member, in quotation marks, of Waffle House, you have a coupon for free hash browns with the order at the Wahoo. Pars's go-to is the sausage, egg, and cheese melt with pickles. Okay, interesting. Yeah, Ricky's got an all-star. Dell prefers tater tots. I mean, there's nothing wrong with tater tots. Absolutely nothing wrong with tater tots. But I don't know if that's part of the discussion when it comes to what is available for you on National Hash Brown Day. Dell prefers tater tots. All right, so now we got folks. You can be. I was going to say you can be a member of Waffle House. Okay, through the rewards program, obviously. All right, that's opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, that's your QR code. For those of you who are watching on however you're watching, whether it's on Twitch, it's on our YouTube channel, and it's on the 280-character app. Once again, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15, as Michael Valverde will let everybody know that he has, and he'll let us know what his morning coffee is from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 and get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game, youth initiatives that they have earmarked as being really cool stuff. So once again, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Also, housekeeping. All right. Once again, this is the scarf to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. It's one of our causes here. Hand to heart, the other hand in the air. We want to help out the Marshall Islands as they are beginning their young, from the ground up approach in a national soccer program. They started futsal. They've had futsal competitions on the island. You can go back and listen to our interview with Justin Wally, one of the coaches for the Marshall Islands. That's on the network. You can go back and listen to that in the archives. Last week, our buddies Lloyd Hours and Matt Lee, they were there in Northwest Arkansas, and they were there helping out the local Marshallese and attracting Marshallese, people of Marshallese descent, and the Marshallese that are there in the Four Corners, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas. And they had some things going on there as well. Very, very cool stuff. They're taking the program from the ground up, and you get the chance to be a part of it right there. The Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, you can go to their website. They've got an app on the other side, and you can pick up the scarf. It's $32. If you want to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, you want to have Abby deliver it to you, you could do that. Or if you want us to just put it in the mail for you, it's an extra $5. So $32 to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, plus another $5 if you want it shipped. If you don't, Abby delivers it, and it's $32 to help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. So there you go. That's your stuff. That's the early housekeeping as we get ready for opening weekends and things. And next up is our mogul in training. And we get to find out what's going on in the life of a mogul in training as things continue to grow in his environment, in the three-dimensional environment that belongs to this particular individual. It's time for the Friday Free Kick. And that means it's time for Michael Parkhurst to come and hang out with us. What's up, Cap?
What's up, John? Thanks for playing that music just long enough for me to figure out the tangled headphone mess that I had.
Hey, brother, that's what we're here for. You know me as being a human filibuster. I'm always good for those kinds of things. It's always fun. First question that I have for you, sir, has to do with the mogul in training that you are. You get the weekend. You get this weekend to watch everybody else in USL Championship. You are a week away. That by the time that you will have circled back and caught up with us, you will have had your home opener, your franchise kickoff, the first match ever in club history for Rhode Island FC, 4 o'clock next Saturday afternoon on the campus of Bryant University for those that wish to go and catch up with New Mexico United taking on Rhode Island FC. Are you, sir, nervous as we showcase the RIFC scarf here in the office? How nervous as a mogul are you a week away from the grand reveal?
Not too nervous. I can't really control anything that's going on over there. And so it's kind of out of my hands. Honestly, if I was nervous, I'm more nervous about off the field and just making sure things go well and fans having a good experience and a good time. And, you never know at the college campus how things are going to go. And so, yeah, just logistically hoping that everyone really enjoys their time, because Brett Johnson, our majority owner, he was obviously with Phoenix for a while, and he was talking about his experience for our home opener when they opened up their new stadium, and he said it was an absolute disaster, where like they were kicking off and half the stadium wasn't in the stadium yet, and it was just a really difficult time getting everyone parked and getting in the gates. And he said it was a real struggle. So we're trying to learn from those experiences and make sure everybody has a good time.
I mean, what have you been able to learn about the behind the scenes stuff? I imagine it's a lot, but what's it been like for you as part of the hierarchy, part of the ownership group? What's it been like for you to learn about this side, the other side of things? You know about on the field, but what's it been like for you this entire process to learn about stuff off the field, and now you're a week away from the grand reveal?
Yeah, just how much work goes into it, all the different facets and groups that are just doing work behind the scenes, where you as a player, you're just focused on playing and the game and New Mexico and getting a good result. And yeah, people are going to show up, and that's just what happens. And but how do you get those people in the stadium and selling the tickets and then putting on a good experience, and what goes on before the game and at halftime, and the concessions and all this stuff. And there's just so much going on to even just put on the first game, and you've got dignitaries coming in, and like how do you take care of the mayor of this town and that town and the fire chief and the police chief, and it's just like, oh my God, the politics involved, and you're like, oh my, it's crazy.
What have I gotten myself into? I could see you trying to find a closet to just close the door to your office. It's like, I need 10 minutes of silence.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Oh man.
But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great day.
So are you going? Are you going to stay at home?
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay. And are they going to have like the big pair of scissors and the ribbon cutting and everything? It's like, and we welcome everyone, the serpentina and the confetti cannons. I mean, is this part of it too?
No, I don't think so. But I think there are some pre-game festivities that'll be enjoyable for everybody and make it a big deal. But no ribbon cutting.
You're gonna get flyover. You're gonna get like a stealth bomber to go over there at Bryant.
There's been talks. I mean, not a stealth bomber, maybe a paper airplane. But
yeah, so you launch it from the owner's box. You sit there and airplane.
I've got the little remote control on the sideline. Just.
I mean, it's going to be an absolute blast, and obviously next Saturday we're going to keep an eye on it with everything going on. And it's been fun to hear your stories about how this is going from ground zero and beyond ground zero to an idea on paper to now being a week away from the grand reveal as an expansion franchise in USL Championship. It's been fun to hear these kinds of things. Different kind of home opener coming up for Atlanta United tomorrow, and it's going to be against New England, two teams that you might remember or have some history with, or just might remember some experiences. When it comes to home openers here, what are some of your favorite memories of home openers with your time with Atlanta United, and what the whole vibe was like then?
Well, definitely the most memorable one was the first one, without a doubt. Just a little bit of unknown of what it would be like, the crowd, and just I remember hearing about hey, give them time to, figure out the chants and get everybody organized and all this stuff. So you just, there was a lot of unknown going into that game. And honestly, I was unsure if we were going to get our asses kicked by Red Bulls or
Really?
if we were going to be okay. So yeah, but that was, an amazing night. And honestly, I'm trying to think of the home opener in 18 because I know that we started off with a butt whooping out in Houston.
I thought you blacked that moment out. It doesn't exist anymore.
So I can't even remember what the home opener was for 18, and I remember the home opener for 19 because we won a championship, and I feel like there was a lot of booing after the game for our home opener of 2019. Yeah, so I remember that game. Things weren't in a good place for the home opener.
So Ricky says it was DC in 2018 and Cincy in 2019.
Yeah, I remember Cincy. I don't even remember the DC game.
3-1 in 2018, according to contributor Nile, over DC, and then a draw apparently with Cincy in 2019. Folks with better memories are just flooding us.
I knew that Cincy was a draw because we had just lost to Monterey away. Yeah.
So I mean, it's all these flashbacks in here this morning. When it comes to your mentoring and when it comes to first impressions, do you get to have the conversations with your mentees about not just first impressions on the field, but first impressions off the field? The etiquette things that we all learned when we were growing up about shaking hands, eye contact, all of those kinds of things, the yes or no sir, all of the manners and things like that. Do you get to deal with these conversations about first impressions on and off the field at all?
Absolutely. Because, a lot of the kids that we talk to are going to college showcases, or they're going to a camp for college, or I don't know, a tryout even, for high school or whatever. And, we talk about coaches are looking for not only good players, but they're looking for good people, right? Nobody wants to have a bunch of guys on the team or ladies on the team that are going to be a pain in the butt to work with. And so you've absolutely got a chance to impress off the field. And so much of that is within your control and has nothing to do with how good you kick a soccer ball or anything like that. So we absolutely talk about the importance of that and how important it is.
When it comes to these conversations, I mean, I imagine that probably 99.9% of the time, those athletes that you are with they're on the same page with you. They get it. There's, we understand we're trying to further our lives, our careers, what have you. Have you had to change any mentee attitudes in these conversations? Where did some of them come in and almost act like Mario Balotelli, and it's like, hey, this is me, take it or leave it kind of a thing? And did you have to change attitudes with any mentees, or is everybody on the same page coming in?
No, not everybody's on the same page. That would be too easy, John. No, I think we're all on different pages. I think there's some that don't understand how important that is or how big of an impact that can have. Whether they are on that path or not on that path. And so that's important. But then also there's just some that need a little bit of an attitude adjustment to make sure that doesn't take away from their soccer skills, right? Maybe it's not going to be an outlier as far as like, hey, that's going to be your go-to, like, hey, this is a great player or a great person rather. But if you're a great player, let's make sure that the attitude doesn't take away from that, right? So that's important because we've had some of those as well.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's the reason that I ask is this question, because when you have those that may not understand the full picture and you're starting to lay the evidence out for them and they finally understand, okay, there's something larger at play here, and this can help me out not just when I'm an athlete, but after my athletic career is over, when I'm out there in the real world, building buildings or, doing whatever with the rest of my life, that this isn't just something that is meant for sports. It is meant for the remainder of your life, and it will help you out in all other aspects when your playing days are through. If that's 16, 22, 24, or 30, this is something that contributes to a larger picture here.
Absolutely. And yeah, of course, most of the players that we speak with aren't going to be professionals, right? So how are they using these skills to better themselves for the future? I was literally just talking with a mentee who's playing over in Spain right now, and I was telling him, hey, take this opportunity to learn Spanish. Please get fluent while you're over there. So because when we're hiring for Rhode Island, like, we want bilingual people in our building, right? It's so important. And it can separate yourself. Obviously, I wish I'd spoke Spanish when I was playing with Atlanta United, right? It would have been so helpful. So it's a big regret of mine. So whether you play soccer or you don't, right? Learn Spanish. It'll set yourself apart. So that's a little off the field thing as well, but there's so many lessons for sure.
Yeah, and halftime with Michael Parkhurst and the Freddie Free Kick and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. And, because the world isn't as insular as it might have been back in the 1790s when I was growing up. I mean, it literally is. You turn and you're surrounded by a bunch of different nationalities and languages. And the more that we learn about each other, I think obviously the better off I think we all can be, because then we get that additional perspective of where someone's coming from. It's almost like, if you want to call it an interactive defensive driving course for conversation and for growth. It's like, okay, I understand where this person's coming from now. Oh, I get that now because of this. And so you get to add the context of all of the growth from all the different places around the planet where you're going to be interacting with folks. Like you said with Rhode Island FC, being bilingual, being trilingual or multilingual is going to help you out in understanding where these folks are coming from. And I don't know if this is a generational thing or not, but I don't know where the generations are about willingness to understand others and be accepting in these conversations. When you interact, when it comes to, are there generational disconnects, or do the younger athletes and student athletes and individuals get it? Do they understand the idea of the three-dimensional approach and understanding where folks come from? Older people, what's the generational rundown from your interaction?
I think so. Sometimes it's difficult to understand, right? Are they just nodding their head and saying yes, and or they understand it but don't believe it. So I don't know. But I think that most of the kids are kind of open and, understand, like, hey, that whether I do or don't continue to play at a higher level, like, I can still take a lot of these skills and see how it relates to things off the field as well.
If you weren't who you are, and you, after your time at Wake Forest, it's like, okay, I'm hanging up my boots. I'm done. I had a great career up through college. I've got to go focus on other things. If you weren't a professional footballer, what do you think you would have been growing up? Growing older. I'll say growing older, not growing up, because if we grow up, we're in trouble. If you'd hung up your boots after college, what do you think you would have done otherwise?
It's a good question, John, and I've been asked before, and I don't know. I was very focused on one thing, and so some of the things I tell my mentees are like, hey, this is what I did, but this is what I tell my mentees to do in this situation, and sometimes it's not the same. So I don't know. I was mildly interested in, like, how the body works and kind of like the PT aspect of things. So I probably, that's what I had wanted to study in college, but that wasn't possible in order for me to leave college early and still graduate from Wake. There's too many labs and things that I needed to be in person.
I can relate there, brother, right there.
So yeah, that didn't work out for me, but I think probably in that sphere.
Okay. When it comes to taking care of their bodies and understanding what they need to do to navigate the day in and day out, do your mentees Do they get it? Do they still want to run 100,000 miles an hour every single day and not have a, just like, we'll pay the piper later? When it comes to them and their navigating of how they get through their days and get through their competitions and are ready, do they understand the idea of dialing it back like you did as a pro, or is it still just bar the door and I'm going to run until I can't run anymore?
There's always going to be kids all over that spectrum,
right?
No doubt about it. But we do say, hey, there's time to get away from the game as well, and take it easy a little bit.
What? Come on. It's all about being a diehard. You've got to be there. It's like you've got to be there 100% of the time, 370 days out of the year. Come on now. What is this rest thing and getting away from things and closing closet doors that you're talking about here? We can't have that.
Yeah, exactly. None of that.
None of that. I'm just waiting for the finger wag, the index finger to come and point at something like, you can't do those kinds of things. But once again, I think it's a generational disconnect that we have at times. It's like when we were growing up, literally, it's like the scene in Breakfast Club where Emilio Estevez and they're all sitting around and they're doing the discussion about their parents, late in the movie, where Emilio Estevez is talking about his dad and he goes, Andrew, your attitude, that kind of, we've seen those parents. We know those parents. And I don't know in sheer numbers if the parents that we knew back then are the same parents that we have now. That's why I was kind of asking, do folks understand the idea of disconnecting and unplugging and not doing things 370 days out of the year?
No, it's probably worse now than it was.
Really?
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah, because when I was growing up, it was we played different sports in each season. There was no special trainers and individualized training, and there's just so much more opportunity now for the extra training, which is great, and that's why we see these younger kids turning pro at 15, and just the level of play from these 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds is so much higher than it was. But there's a cost to that as well.
When it comes to, so you mentioned being pro at 15, and the first name that popped into my head was Freddie Adu. And I wonder at times, do we push too quickly? Because you'll see Freddie Adu's out there and they'll be amazing, and you wonder if the full package is there, both the physical, the mental, the emotional, all of that. If you wonder that if all of that is there, and I know that it's probably a case-by-case basis, but you have these cautionary tales. Any idea from your mind when too young is too young to be a professional athlete? Would you set a bar at, say, like, look, maybe at the end of high school, maybe when you're 18, something like that? Or, is it legitimately one of these where you have to look at the full dossier of how they came through, and it's like, okay, 13, 14, 15, they were doing these kinds of things. Okay, they're maturing. They're doing okay. So by the time that they become a pro, 16 or so, they're ready for that kind of a thing? It seems like it's a bit of a dodgy thing to have to navigate. But there's always a cautionary tale, and I think that probably, I recoil when I hear 15-year-old pro or 16-year-old pro just because you worry about that individual.
Yeah, it is tough. I don't think that there should be a rule, like a set thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Freddie's experience, and I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that podcast that I think the late Grant Wall did. With Freddie, and that was fantastic. And I obviously was in MLS at that time and didn't know quite the experience and the pressure and the eyeballs and all this stuff that he had on him, which was unreal. I don't think many 15-year-olds. I see them. What's crazy is you see a team sign a 16-year-old and you're like, that's just another team signing a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old, and you're like, it doesn't even register that, like, a wow.
Yeah.
And so, in one essence, I guess that's okay because there's not a super amount of pressure on these. Freddie Adu is meant to come in and be a star at 14 or 15. These kids are just, training essentially. I don't know how many of these players are even getting first team minutes. So just training essentially with the first team, which is a valuable experience, right? But it also, like, there's a lot of things to consider. Like, we almost signed a young player, and there's a lot to consider. Like, who are they living with, and what happens when they're on the road, and do they have their own room? Are they with another player? And like, what happens when the other guys go out for a drink? And there's just so much that goes into it, and because you don't want these kids to grow up that fast, but there's also a maturation thing and like a fatherly, like, family type thing that you have to look after these guys too. Yeah. So the club really needs to be set up in a good spot to really support these players.
Did the club sign that young player, or did, because of everything that you were just talking about, they're like, yeah, we probably don't have the resources at the moment, or can devote the resources to make sure that is that insular element with that player, that we take care of that player in those three dimensions?
No, we didn't sign the player, and it wasn't because of that. It just didn't work out. He chose a different option. But we will eventually. And so at least we're having these conversations and understanding of, hey, if we do sign a player that's, under 18, or even if it's significantly younger, making sure that we've got a good environment, a safe environment for, this player, because, off the field matters. It really does. Like, you can't expect to send a 15-year-old home to an empty apartment at 2:00 in the afternoon every day and say, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m." That's crazy.
It is. Rapid fire before we go, because I know that you've got menteeing and moguling to do here. Dell down in Charleston wants to know if you keep in touch with some of your former Atlanta United teammates besides Greg Garza.
Oh yeah. Yep. We've got some different group text messages going on. So Alec Can and Brad, Jeff. I'm going to stay with Julian in a couple of weeks, going down there to Miami. Darlington's up here in Columbus, so we have lunch every now and then. Justin Muram. There's a bunch of guys.
Okay. And then since today is, and Abby did fantastic work in letting us know that today's National Hash Brown Day.
Oh, I thought you were going to go a little more serious. I think, isn't today National Women's Day or National?
It is. It is absolutely. It's International Women's Day. That is
International Women's Day.
Yes.
Hash Brown Day. Oh, yes.
All right.
So, I love hash browns.
I was going to say, how do you like your hash browns, sir?
Crispy.
Okay.
And with I don't like Southern stuff. So, like, as far as, like, I don't want cream in it, or, I want them dry, and I want them crispy. I throw some ketchup on there.
Okay. Because traditionally for me, I was talking about, like, when you go to Waffle House, scattered, smothered, covered, chunked, and topped, which is basically cheese, ham, chili, onions. Mm-hmm. And unless I'm really not hungry, and then I'll get a larger order, but then I'll just have them plain. If they're that right level of crispy, but they're not too crisp, then I can go completely and totally plain when it comes to an order of hash browns, and have 2 grilled cheese sandwiches with it, and I'm cool.
Plain Jane over here.
Yeah, right there with you. Folks, Dell also wants to know, and David, if he's in Tampa for the Rowdies Rhode Island game, is there a section for the road supporters where they can create chaos as well?
I love it. I don't know, honestly. I would assume so, but I don't know. That's one of the things that I haven't thought about yet, actually.
See, you hang out here and you get all of these completely and totally random questions having to do with being a mogul. Parzival asks, Lorenowitz actually sends texts and doesn't send carrier pigeons?
Believe it or not, he can operate a telephono.
Okay.
Yep, so he does send a text message every now and then.
Wow,
and as you would imagine, always some dry humor in there.
No. Big Red and dry humor, that never happened. Dell also is asking, does Rhode Island have any different concessions because of the location and culture? How is Bryant University going to help you out with concessions here?
Yeah.
Do you get like, do you get some chowder? Perhaps.
I don't know. It's a good question if there's going to be chowder. So concessions at Bryant is a disaster. So we've got a bunch of food trucks that are going to be there. So yes, definitely local flavor of a variety of different food trucks. And then at the stadium, we will have for sure a lot of local flavor.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah,
What's going on?
Doughboys.
Yes, Doughboys. Yes, Doughboys. And maybe you should just go to like the Italian restaurants on the hill and just have the food trucks come with the Italian food. Get the big
True.
plates of pasta. That'd be epic. What's going on with you and Greg and Beyond Goals these days?
What is going on? I don't know. We still speaking of some high schools, which is great. We talked to Riverside women's teams yesterday, 2 days ago. So high school season, and we've got a project that we're dipping our toes into, seeing if we can get something done in Atlanta. So hopefully we can share more with that down the road, but that would be a fun big project with the city down there. So we'll see.
Yes, absolutely. So the northeastern answer of a beignet is a doughboy, for those that do not know. So as always, my friend, thanks for coming on with us on Fridays when you can at 9:30 to talk about everything involving that particular scarf right there, Rhode Island FC scarf.
Mm-hmm.
I have the gear. It is displayed.
You see my scarf, John?
Yes, I do, sir. It made it. So the SDH scarf is now part of the office, and that is really fun, as well as the 356-page book that was book number 6 for yours truly. It is now in his stacks as well, personalized and ready to be read when you have time to do it, which will be about the year 2027 at this point. But as always, my friend, thanks for dropping by. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe, and enjoy the opening. Next time we talk, we'll ask all about it. Be safe, my friend.
You as well. Thanks, John.
All right. That's Cap, Michael Parkhurst. Pars wants to know how to get an SDH scarf. Same as what's going on with Marshall Islands. It can be 25, and you reach out to me. Those are the ones that we have right now. The ones that the Atlanta is U.S. Soccer, the Soccer City scarves. We have those in stock. We also have the Marshall Islands ones in stock. And once again, reach out to me. Reach out to the show. You can DM us or do whatever. The Atlanta is Soccer City scarves are 25. And if you want Abby to deliver it, it's 25. If you want me to throw it in the mail, it's 25 and 5. And so let us know. You can, like I say, you could DM me, you could reach out to the show, however you want to do it. So the Atlanta is Soccer City scarves, the red and black. Those are 25. Marshall Islands are 32. Same as always, once again, add 5 if you want it shipped, or if you don't want it shipped, you want to see Abby, then Abby can deliver it, and it's right there. So the Soccer City scarves are 25, and the Marshall Islands scarves are 32. So there you go. It is after 10 o'clock, and it is hour number 2 here on a Freestyle Friday, and this is where we bring in Maddie Cruz for the 1s and 2s. And Maddie had some Maddie's been doing a lot of things this week. And one of the things that Maddie got to do was dive into USL League One. And she's going to be catching up with a lot of folks. We caught up with Mike Jeffries from Charlotte Independence earlier this week. That one's on the network. Maddie, who did you catch up with most recently out of USL League One?
I got the chance to talk to head coach Mark McKeever for One Knoxville SC.
And One Knox is in their second season of existence in USL League One. And so without giving away a whole lot of state secrets, what were some of the takeaways that you had in the interview with McKeever finding out about One Knox in year 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, how well the club has developed. They were founded in 2022. They were in USL League 2, and then they jumped to USL League 1, literally their second year as a club. And, he's been there for the beginning. And so we talked a lot about just that development and how to develop a club like that. And, obviously we talked about last season and how, wasn't the best thing that they wanted to start out with. But one thing that I really did like, though, is he told me that, they're not going to really focus on the end product. They're focusing a lot on the journey and how they are going to develop themselves throughout this season. So I'm really excited to see what they do. And also love the Sunsphere kit. Love it.
The Sunsphere kit is very strong, and they've released that out for 2024. And Maddie's getting messages from folks because folks want to catch up with her. Also, One Knox, their season opener is on the road at Charlotte, not this weekend, but next. So you can listen to the interview with Mike Jeffries. You can listen to the interview with Mark McKeever, find out about both of those clubs as they get the week off. Someone who does not get the week off is South Georgia Tormenta. They are going to be going up against Central Valley Fuego Saturday night, 7:30 at Tormenta Stadium. And Ian Cameron, the head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, was getting all of the questions, getting ready for everything. And this matchup, match one, they are one of the 3 matchups in USL League One that's going to kick off the season, all 3 on Saturday, all 3 in the Eastern time zone. So here's a little bit of Ian Cameron from his conversation about getting ready for Central Valley Fuego. Once again, thanks to our friends at South Georgia Tormenta for letting us hear it.
There's always a kind of slight sense of relief once you get to the build-up of the opening game. Pre-season is incredibly important, incredibly helpful, but there's an edge that real competition gives you. And you can see that in training this week. There's been an extra focus, an extra burst of energy. The sessions have been crisper. So I think it's just general excitement that's the overwhelming feeling of the group to get going and have the first real competitive outfit, and we're certainly looking forward to it.
And what are some of your expectations facing an almost entirely new squad from Fuego?
I think there's going to be a lot of new faces on either side. You know, we don't return tons of players. I think we retained 4 or 5 players from last season. They is well documented that they've returned 4 players from their squad. And so you're going to have 2 new groups. Obviously consistency in our coaching staff, so maybe a little bit more consistency in game model on the Tormenta side than the Fuego side. But you've got a lot of returners from the league, 2 new identities or groups, and I think it's going to be a really, really good clash. But Fuego, we don't know. We've seen some things, we've heard some things, but we're excited to see them. But it's not just about what they do. Really, our job is to really affect what they do, and that's what we're putting our full focus on. I think there's always...
And there you go. So that's Ian Cameron, the head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, getting ready for the new season in USL League One. They're the late game in USL League One this week, late by all of a half an hour, because 7 o'clock Saturday night, Paladin Stadium, and that one is on the campus of Furman University. We'd like to welcome Spokane Velocity to USL League One, the new expansion team, which now gives you 12 even in USL League One. So Spokane begins their tour in USL League One on the road at Greenville. That's at 7 o'clock. Also, Northern Colorado Hailstorm, head coach Eamon Zayed. They're going to try and get back to the top of the table again, have a deeper run than they did in 2023. And they are on the road. They go to Lexington SC. Maddie's tracking down our friends at Lex SC. We'll hear from them probably next week early. Lex SC basically, it's like, and I say this tongue in cheek, they destroyed the salary cap in USL League One. They are signing everybody. They're just like, they're blowing it all up. Cameron Lancaster, who ended his time at Lou City in USL Championship, Lex SC knocked on his door and was like, hey, bro, you want to come by, Mr. Lancaster? So Cameron Lancaster is in USL League One. Early contender for Golden Boot, Cameron Lancaster of Lex SC. And then Jermaine Jones, the new head coach at Central Valley Fuego. They get to come from Fresno. They go to Statesboro, 7:30 Eastern time on Saturday. So that is your League One rundown and the beginning of the season there in USL League One. In USL Championship, it's a very, very interesting time there as well. So you've got the schedule, and it was great to catch up with Kaylor Hodges and our friends at the USL show and find out what's going on in his mind when it comes to life in a USL Championship this year. Their schedule's off and running. You've got a couple of new head coaches. You've got Sean McCauley, who is the new head coach at Loudon. Cano Smith, obviously, in the first year of what's going on at Rhode Island. So Cano's got a week to kind of look at everybody around the league. And Dennis Sanchez, a new head coach for Las Vegas Lights. Joey Batts is now part of the ownership group there, Jose Bautista. And so it's fun to see what Vegas is going to do. On Saturday, it is a full slate of games, and I mean a full slate of games. 4 o'clock, and we caught up with Stephen Glass at Memphis 901. Memphis 901 is going to kick the schedule off after they destroy a guitar at AutoZone Park. Vegas Lights, Memphis 901. Should be very, very interesting. How many goals get scored? Probably a lot of them. So we'll see what happens there in Memphis. Also, New Mexico United at the Lab. They host Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I can already hear Bob Lilly yelling already. So Pittsburgh at New Mexico United, those are the 2 afternoon games that are there in USL Championship. The Miami FC, Kaylor Hodges' early contender for Wooden Spoon in the Eastern Conference at the very least. They host Colorado Springs Switchbacks, and it is now no longer Ricardo Silva Stadium. It's back to FIU Football Stadium. So we'll see what happens there at 7 o'clock. Also at 7 o'clock at Wake Med, we'd like to welcome the newly promoted side, North Carolina FC. You won the title. You were going to be going to USL Championship anyway, but it just so happens you win a title, you're getting promoted, you're now in USL Championship from League One. Charleston Battery comes to town, and Ben Pierman. 8:30 at Toyota in San Antonio. Loudoun United comes to visit. 9 o'clock at Southwest University Park. Hartford Athletic on the road taking on El Paso Locomotive. Our buddy Duke Keith should be on the call for Locomotive there. 9:30 at the corner of 38th and Washington. It is Birmingham Legion on the road taking on Phoenix Rising, your defending champs. At 10 o'clock at Pioneer, it is Oakland Roots and Indy 11. Late game, 10 o'clock at Hard Health, it is Sacramento Republic and Orange County SC. So that's your rundown of the activity in USL Championship here this weekend. So busy times, bunch of different divisions rolling and going. And it appears also that according to Ricky, and I guess probably what I should do is hit the breaking news sounder. And as I find out the details of what Ricky is letting us know about at Mercedes-Benz. So a lot of stuff going on. Get your tickets. I shudder to think what the prices are going to be. But as Ricky lets us know, Mercedes-Benz is going to be very, very busy because other folks are coming to play. Chelsea, July 31st. And Club America. Chelsea and Club America.
Ooh.
Part of Chelsea's tour. And last year, you'll remember that the Premier League, they had their tour. It was through a couple of different places. But late in the summer, July 31st, before everything kicks back up in earnest, Chelsea and Club America at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So that is intriguing. And quoting Carlita, that's cool. So Chelsea and Club America, they are going to be dropping by Mercedes-Benz Stadium on July 31st. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to those of you who like to celebrate these kinds of things. So PARS, we do have a bit of an update on Pro and PSRA. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit. Let's see. Ricky said 22 video reviews in the first 2 weeks this season. There were only 2 last season. We'll get into the dynamic there if you want. There's context, and you know that folks are going to be saying things that will lean toward their own personal opinions in matters. And once again, in labor disputes, this is no different. So you're going to see something like that. But I would posit in return, how many of the video reviews got it right? I would imagine 20 or 21 of the 22. And I know that there were a couple of omissions that have not been, that were not turned into VAR incidents. But I would say that I would rather have the care taken, add a minute or 2 on the clock, have a quick VAR review, and then get things moving than have it be horrendously wrong. And I would also posit and put to the floor that as much as we continue to look at what happened with center refs and ARs and VAR and things like that in these first 2 weeks of the season, I would hope that we continue to be just as vigilant. And I'll say when the labor dispute is over, let's continue to be just as vigilant and take the numbers down just as much and keep track when the officials that are not working that we're used to seeing get back to work. Let's continue to be just as vigilant and compare the numbers, but with VAR numbers that were posted by the particular agency. They said 22 versus 2. That's fine. I would rather they take more care than be just willy-nilly and go, yeah, okay, we're not going to let that go. Be like what happened last night in Nashville. I would rather they take the care, get the call right, and move on than sit there and say, okay, well, there were 20 more calls. Okay, but were they all correct by the end of the review? Was the correct result there on the field through the review process? let's be just as vigilant when the labor dispute is over when it comes to the guys that we're used to seeing. That's all I'm going to say about it. Basically, be even Steven with your eyeglasses when it comes to these kinds of things.
No, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, literally, like, that's all we want, is we just want for there to be this, not consistency, but we want there to be this care when it comes to making those calls. And you have the technology, so use it. If you don't know if a call's correct or not, and you've someone in your ear being like, hey, you should go check that out, go check it out. It's like, I never understood why they didn't utilize the VAR technology, and I'm glad that they're using it now. And I know that it eats up time, and I know that there's this thing, but I mean, I'd rather them get a call right than have them not get a call right and not call it, and then it costs the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So keep just once again, like I said, just be just as vigilant with your stat keeping when the labor dispute is over, as we are traditionally on Mondays. Be just as vigilant when the guys come back that we're used to seeing, in addition to what you're seeing now when it comes to getting the call right and to all those numbers. Abby, with an update. Tailgate for now, back to the same lot as last year, back in that corner. Tried very hard to change the lot, excited about it. 11th hour, the lot owner where we were going to move decided to add a clause no one could agree to, able to get back into the former lot. So for now, at least for the next 2 games, we will be there. And yes, Abby, they did try. Andy King out in the West Coast. Does the Sunsphere kit come with a free wig? A Simpsons reference. I don't know. If it did, that'd be pretty sweet. I mean, maybe season ticket holders would get the free wig to go with it. It's so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, the Sunsphere kit is pretty sweet. The continuing discussion about the new lot, which is the old lot. So same as it ever was. There you go. David ran into the flags out van in Little 5. Waved to the driver sitting in the old Zesto parking lot. Man, Zestos. Their peach shake and their crinkle fries. Oh, my goodness. And the burgers. I miss Zestos. Dropped flags in his car. David got extra flags. An extra one if anyone in Midtown, downtown, or Decatur wants a new free flag. So David's got flags, people. Or a flag. David can give flags to you, Midtown, downtown, Decatur. So there you go. All right, tickets go on sale Wednesday for Chelsea and Club America. Thank you, Ricky, for that. Pars is coming from the same me that says if it takes longer than a minute, you're looking for something. Absolutely. It is. Pars, I know. Actually, 2. It's 2 to 2.5 for me. If you're looking for a long time. But these VAR, and what I'd also like, Pars, is to see what the timing is when it comes to rendering a decision. Because I can't think of a whole lot where it's gone past my 2 to 2.5 minute moratorium for looking for something. But like I said, I mean, it's a lot of these times from what I've been able to gather, it's a buzz down. They look at it quick. They're done. It's not sitting there and staring at it and going, okay, or, it's not like down and to the left, like the Seinfeld episode. It's not like looking for the magic loogie. It literally is, from what I've been able to glean so far. They're looking at it. It's a decent time frame. If my timing's off, I'm off. Then I will raise my hand in the air. But I've thought so far in the situations that I've been looking at, it's in that 2.5 minute moratorium. We're not seeing something that's lasting for 9 hours. Once again, looking for 9 hours. And I think that it's a universal. I think, honestly, with the guys that we're used to seeing, the officials that we're used to seeing, and with the folks that are out there right now, still, I think that is a universal trait. I think that, once again, if it's 2 to 2.5 minutes, you're fine. I don't care what your previous employee is. You could be like our buddy Gabriela Ciampi, or you could be like CCH, the part of the guys that are out there now. 2.5 minutes to me is 2.5 minutes. I don't care if you've been out there for 2 weeks or if you've been out there for 20 years. I'd like to know the timing of it, but from what I've been able to watch so far, Pars, like I said, I will say universally, I'm right there with you. I don't care if it's these guys that are out there now or the ones that we're used to seeing. 2 to 2.5 minutes, I've still got a limit. The number of times it goes to VAR, I understand that with new folks and all this kind of stuff, I'm willing to be a little patient. And that for me is kind of shocking to hear now that I said that into a microphone. But still, 2.5 minutes to me is 2.5 minutes. Doesn't matter if we're talking the 2024 folks that are out there now or the folks that we've been watching as long as we've been watching. Doesn't matter to me. 2.5 minutes, longer than that. Doesn't care if it's the new guys or the old guys. Too long. But from what I've been able to see so far, yes, there are more calls, but you're not seeing stuff past that 2.5 minute moratorium that I've self-imposed on myself when it comes to looking for something and being too much of a call. So, like I said, if I'm wrong with my timing, I will raise my hand in the air and sit there and go, okay, they need to speed up the process and get it right. So that's what I'm looking at, Pars. David, how much of that is worse center refereeing versus the VARs being overly involved because they assume the replacements can't keep up? And also remember that the VAR is the more experienced official in Major League Soccer purview. So you're going to have, and there were a couple of instances last week where there was one instance in particular that sticks in my head where it looked like it was being re-refereed from the VAR position. That has to be watched as well. There were a couple. There was one I know that that I can reference off the top of my head that it looked like it was being re-refereed from VAR. They've got to be careful with that. Yes, the VARs are the ones from pro that are more experienced in this process over the guys that are there in the middle so far. One instance of re-refereeing, I hope that is an anomaly and not a trend when it comes to what we've been seeing so far out of Major League Soccer. Okay, so Abby's got the street address, 550 Mitchell. Yes, Abby right there with you. Miss Zesto's address of the parking lot for the pedestrian entrance, 405 Beckwith Southwest. Morning, Hutch. Buenos morning. All right, so it is that time at 10:20 where we go through all the matchups, go through all the juice boxes, and get you ready for the weekend that will be in Major League Soccer. And this is the fun part. It's the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. As we go, I want you guys to let me know what you're looking for this weekend with Atlanta United and New England Revolution. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to know your concerns. I want to know your strengths. I want to know what you're concerned about. I want to know what you're looking forward to. And I hope that camaraderie and being there with one another inside Mercedes-Benz or in the SG lot is a part of that discussion. So your question of the day is multi-part. Coming up with Atlanta United and New England, what are you looking for on the field, off the field? Who's in your spot shadow? Who are you looking for? I know that you want Atlanta United's defense to pin down Carlos Heel. He signed a new contract yesterday. He's going to be there through 26 with an option for 27. So give me your concerns. The doctor is in. Drop the nickel in the coffee cup. Let's go for the other 40 minutes when it comes to Atlanta United and with New England Revolution. So we've also I'll go through the announcers with our friends from Major League Soccer and who you get to watch and when you're not going to be watching Atlanta United. So we've got all of the things that are going on right now when it comes to week number 3, match week number 3, and Atlanta getting ready for the Revs. So
Always fun.
Yes, no doubt about it. Always fun. And I'm trying to find the announcers. Here we go. All right, so we have our announcer assignments. We'll get into juice boxes here in a sec. 2 o'clock, it is NYC in Portland. It's Tony Husband, Ross Smith. Eric Krakauer and Jaleel Anibaba are on Charlotte and Toronto. 7:30, Jake and TT get Atlanta and New England. Neil Sika, Lloyd Sam are in Columbus for Chicago and Columbus. Callum and Kalen are with the FC Dallas and Red Bulls. Nate McCady and Devin Kerr have Orlando and the Loons. 7:30, Kanji Man, Steve Cangelosi, Danny Higginbotham. They're in Philly for Seattle and Philly. 8:30, Max and Dunny are in Austin for All Caps in Austin. Keith and Mo are in RSL. We'll see if they get the redo of the weather like Max and Dunny did. Is it snow round 2? Snowmageddon. Keith and Mo, Colorado at RSL. 10:30, Rodolfo Landeros and Mariano Trujillo get to LAFC and Sporting. Rogo and Heath Pierce get San Jose hosting Vancouver. Sunday afternoon, Tyler Terrens and Kindred East St. Aubin are in Cincinnati for DC United and FC Cincinnati. Tyler, by the way, is the now proud owner of a wrist brace because on Monday and Tuesday, now that he has turned 30, if you follow him on social media, he goes out and plays golf on Monday and Tuesday. Played golf on Monday and Tuesday. Everything was fine. Wednesday, he couldn't pick up anything off of a table. And so now he is the proud owner of a wrist brace welcome to Mortality, Tyler Terrans, on your Wednesday, and follow him on social media, and you get to see the size of that brace. And it's one of the ones that you have to like lock in and get the Velcro and everything. So Tyler is now mortal. He's going to be wearing a wrist brace, and I wonder if it's going to fit under his jacket. 3 o'clock on Sunday. Also 3 o'clock on Sunday, Tony and Ross get a home game, LA and Nashville. And 5 o'clock on Sunday, Jake and TT for CF Montreal and Inter Miami. All right, juice boxes and schedules and stuff. All right, 2 o'clock, Portland and NYC. That one is at Yankee Stadium, and it is on season pass. We don't know which Portland team is going to show up. Is it going to be the one that thumped the opponent in week number 1, or is it going to be the one that dropped a 2-0 lead and finished up with a 2-2 draw at home in week number 2? We mentioned the juice boxes yesterday with Nico. We'll see if they've changed. NYC still favored at a minus 132. Draws a plus 275. Portland is a plus 355. I've got to go with the draw at least. I would go draw at least here on season pass, just because Nick Cushing is probably going to be one of the top of the list when it comes to the seat being very heated. I'm going to go with Portland to at least get a draw on the road at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree.
All right.
Just because, I mean, like, I feel like both of these teams, I'm leaning more towards Portland, obviously, because every time I always go for the West whenever they play an East team. That way it's better for us.
Uh-huh.
But I also just, NYCFC has not done anything so far this season. They have not looked good. And so even if it is at home, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that is an I don't know. Absolutely. 2 o'clock on the free side of Apple TV. Toronto FC is hosting Charlotte. Charlotte signed Liel Abada, looking like in the neighborhood of a $10 million transfer from Celtic, and Jarrett knows all when it comes to Abada and his situation there at Celtic. And Charlotte needed a DP, they needed a score, and they dropped $10 million. It looks like somewhere from 8 to 10 on Liel Abada. Charlotte on the road a plus 218, draws a plus 252. Toronto at home is a plus 118. Do you get the Toronto team that stood on its head and beat New England 1-0 last weekend, or do you get one that doesn't want to double back and have your offensive players help out on defense and turn into a match that ends up being something like 4-3? I'm going to go with Toronto here just because of how difficult travel is traditionally in Major League Soccer. I'll go with Toronto. They got 4 points in their first 2 matches, but remember, those 2 matches have been against teams that have played in the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, and they got other things on mind. So 4 points, 2 matches, but you're playing Triple C teams. Let's see what Toronto does here. We're going to save Atlanta, New England for last. Crew and Fire. Crew, a minus 204 at home. Draws a plus 367. Chicago Fire are north of plus 500. This one's on the free side of Apple TV at 7:30, Maddie. I think I stunned her. Crew and Fire, what do you think?
Ooh. I don't know. I honestly, this is, because Chicago's actually doing pretty good from what I've been looking at. They've actually looked kind of decent so far.
Yeah, they set money on fire and decided to sign everybody in the offseason.
Literally. And I mean, because, I was explaining this to my friend. I was like, listen, I'm like, when they were playing Philly, I told her, I was like, I don't like Philly, so I already want Chicago to win. But I also was saying, I was like, Chicago's actually playing well. And she's like, is this surprising? I'm like, yeah, kind of. I'm like, Chicago's kind of like the team that you expect to not be the best, but then they'll like come out randomly at certain games and just blow everyone out of the water. I think I'm vividly remembering the game where they beat us like 5-0.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to talk about that game.
I'm surprised that you didn't black that one out.
See, I try to, but when it's a 5-0 loss to Chicago, it's kind of hard to forget.
True. I understand.
But I think I'm going Columbus still. I think Columbus is hot right now, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. So I'm going to go Columbus.
Yeah, I think Columbus is probably the play here going forward. Also at 7:30 on Season Pass, it is Red Bulls and FC Dallas. And Red Bulls a minus 156 with Emil Forsberg, who is going to be a problem here in Major League Soccer. Draws a plus 276. FC Dallas north of plus 450. I'm going Red Bulls here.
Yeah, I'm going Red Bulls too.
All right. Also at 7:30, the purple team hosting the Loons, and the purple team at home, a -110, draws a +283, and Minnesota United on the road, a +273 at Inter and Co. This one's on season pass.
This one is tricky because I think Minnesota's probably coming off this, thing of like we just we tied Columbus Crew. They're, coming off this sort of high. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Their new head coach is coming in. This will be the first weekend.
Has he made it? Has he cleared? Does he have his work visa?
I don't know. That's why I'm confused. I don't know either. But
let's see. I'll do you keep talking. I'll see if Eric Ramsey has his work visa.
Okay.
All right.
I think Orlando, they're kind of coming off that loss against Miami. I think they're hungry for a win. I think they want to prove that they're still this powerhouse team that we thought they would be. And I think that loss to Miami really shook them up a little bit. And I don't see them letting out anytime soon against Minnesota. So I'm gonna go Orlando. Just because it's at home, and I think that they're hungry for a win. And Minnesota, I mean, listen, I think they got that goal against Columbus, but I think it was kind of lucky. And it was very lucky. And I just don't know if they can reproduce that.
Yeah, especially something from a short angle at 90 plus, and so we'll see which version of Minnesota shows up in this one going up against the purple team. Nico talked about it yesterday. He thinks it's going to be a long day for Seattle going up against Philadelphia in Chester. Philadelphia favored at a +114. Seattle still dinged up. Your draw and Seattle both at a +240.
I think Seattle could pull it out.
Okay.
I think Seattle could pull it out.
Nico will love you if that happens.
Oh, I would love it if it happens. Are you kidding me? I'm always rooting for Philadelphia's downfall. Always.
Right.
Always.
Careful.
I know, but still.
I know.
Anyway.
Rich might be listening, so
yes.
You've been warned.
I apologize. But I think, because, I mean, even just looking at it like at the score-wise, Philadelphia, coming into the season, they tied to Chicago. They've tied to Sporting. They have yet to get a win at all.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't had any sort of thing. They always have this issue where they'll come up, they'll score, and then the other team will score again. Then they lead, and then the other team scores again. They just cannot defend in that back. They cannot hold a lead. And I think the Sounders want to come in and they want to prove something. Now, I think the challenge will be if it is in Philly, that might be an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's at Subaru Park in Chester.
Yeah, I think that might be a bit of an issue because Philly is pretty good there. But again, they tied to Chicago and they were at home.
Yep, and they're balancing CONCACAF as well. So
absolutely, and I think that's definitely going to be an issue. And probably tired legs. They ended with a 0-0 tie in CONCACAF too. Like, I don't know. I think it could go either way. I'm rooting for the Sounders though.
Yep, Philadelphia, let me check their lineup and see what it was in the midweek going up against their hemispheric opponents. And we'll see. All right, game night, March 9. I don't need substitutions. Okay. Wow. That I did not need in my ears. All right, starting 11 for the matchup in the round of 16 3 days ago. Andre Blake is back. So that will definitely help you. It was not Oliver Semley in net. It was Andre Blake. And it looked like it was pretty first choice when it came to this lineup going up in CONCACAF. Mbaizo, Glesnes, Harriel, and Kai Wagner at the back. Jose Martinez, Alejandro Bedoya getting the start, wore the captain's armband, Jack McGlynn. And then it was Sullivan, Gazdag, and Ua up top. So this was pretty first choice going up in the midweek. And so now what does it look like? Andre Blake, now that he's back up and running, you figure Andre Blake is going to be in between the sticks. And that is going to help out the back line for Philadelphia. What the rest of the lineup looks like, I don't know. We've yet to hear, I think, from Jim Curtin and the Union when it comes to how they plan on lining up and who's healthy and who isn't when it comes to the weekend. I'm checking Jonathan Tannenwald's account really quickly just to see if there is anything that he has put together. Looks like most of it so far is just about the activity that was there. So probably not hearing anything about starting lineup. So we'll see what the word is. So the only thing that he has posted getting ready for the weekend is something that Nathan Harriel in the goalless draw against Pachuca. So it's more game stuff, no game preview stuff for the weekend going up against Seattle. 8:30, Austin at home at Q2, hosting all caps, St. Louis City SC. Austin at home, a plus 129. Draws a plus 262. St. Louis City is a plus 195 on the road. This one is on the season pass side of things. Austin has been clunky out of the blocks. And if you're trying to get a get-right game against all caps, I don't know if this is going to be the week to do it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm going for St. Louis for this one. I think St. Louis, I think St. Louis has a more complete team than Austin, and I think St. Louis is going to come in and they're going to win.
Yeah, Ricky has zero faith in Austin, and and Ricky is definitely. I don't think Ricky is the only one, and I mean Ricky might be the only one outside the city of Austin to say that publicly. But right now, Austin, they've only got the 1 point in the 2 matches. They've only scored 1 goal in 2 matches. Obviously, Brad Stuver between the sticks, they've only given up 2, but there has been no offense. And right now, through all of the numbers, they're 12th out of 14th in the league. And I know that a lot of folks are staring at Josh Wolf. It is way too early to stare at Josh Wolf. If things continue in that downward stroke that happened last season, then you might look at him. I think Nick Cushing right now is at the front of the line when it comes to managers who might need to update their CV. We'll see what happens, but Austin needs offensive help. They need offensive help and trying to put the ball in the back of the net. 9:30, and now that I have my my interest peaked here, I'm going to check and see what the weather's going to be like. Dell says St. Louis in that one, and I'm right there with you guys. All right, so let's check the weather in Harriman, Utah for Saturday night. Let's check the weather. Let's see if we're going to get what we got last week.
Another snow game.
Do we get another snow game?
Orange ball.
Well, actually, no, we do not. It is going to be allegedly sunny and a low of 33. So you end up with decent conditions, 2% chance of rain and winds out of the south at 12. So you will not get the same conditions that you got last time. Jarrett, you are not going to get a redo of Snowmageddon this weekend. Keith and Mo are going to be calling the match in Salt Lake City, and it's going to be sunny, but it's going to be in the 30s in and around kickoff. So
we don't get the orange soccer ball, Jarrett. I'm sad.
Nope, we don't.
We can only take so many gifts in one season. You got the orange ball last week. That was your gift.
Yes.
You don't. This isn't. This is a very Dickensian Christmas that we live with MLS. Like, we're not getting a bunch of presents. We got the orange ball. Like, be happy with what you had.
Yes. And Dell, with the public service announcement, for those of you who have not, sign up for the Fantasy League. If you have not signed up, sign up, and you can follow in a bunch just 2 places, but you can go to the Jason Wright Agency Facebook page. You can go to Twitter. So there's the Jason Wright Agency on Facebook. There is the Jason Wright Twitter handle right there. Jordan, it is Jake and TT who are calling the match on Apple, by the way.
I'm still waiting for my code. I still have not gotten it, and I want to join.
Well, send him a bolo and get back in. So once again,
I did. I sent him a little text. I was like, please put me in.
Facebook and Twitter, Jason Wright Agency, and Jason Wright with the WAGEN on the Twitters, and that will get you into the Fantasy League. So sign up. Pro Rel League was announced this week, but everybody else can dive into the league and be a part of it and make fun of everybody and make fun of me specifically because I suck. So there you go. West Coast games, 10:30. So Jarrett was coming in right in the wire to talk about his Earthquakes. LAFC hosting Sporting. LAFC's a minus 164 at BMO, at their BMO West. Your draws a plus 311. Sporting on the road a plus 433. What say you, Jarrett Smith?
don't trust San Jose.
Yeah, we're getting there next.
I know, because you brought them up, and my brain just like went into like mourning. Because like we talked about earlier this week, it's just you had a pretty solid team last year, and now you don't. And now Carlos Vela is apparently not going there, so
No.
now I'm sad.
Yes.
Anyway, what were the numbers?
For LAFC
Sorry.
and
Yeah.
LAFC and Sporting.
Sorry,
Once
I
again.
just it was the sound of glass breaking repeatedly in my brain when you first brought up San Jose.
Of course. LAFC is a minus 164 at home, draws the plus 311, and the Scowling Peter Vermeeses are a plus 434 in the composite.
See, I'll take that plus 434 just because Peter Vermees is mad.
Yes.
Also, that's a very appealing number.
Yes, it is an appealing number. Trying to figure out what you want from LAFC on a daily basis. They're now apparently up to 21 players. They actually have 21 players on their active roster.
But the thing, like, it's a smaller roster, but the ones they have seem solid. Like they're doing fine.
Yeah,
that's not going to be their problem. I mean, it'll be a problem later in the season. But they still have another month a little less than a month to get people in.
Yeah, when Denny Bouanga wants to leave, and they finally get a suitor for him, then they're going to have to find another scorer. So you've got that. So you're going with the Scowling Peter Vermeeses. Maddie, what about you?
Ooh, I don't know. I literally don't know, man.
It says the woman who likes Western Conference Major League Soccer.
Now, listen, I do because yeah. I'm probably gonna go. I'm probably gonna go LAFC.
All right, so she goes with the home side at a minus 164. Now, Jarrett, your Quakes at PayPal Park are a plus 117 against Vancouver. Vancouver travels down, draws a plus 264. Vancouver is a plus 211 to win. What say you, Mr. Earthquakes? Cosmo East.
Oh my God. Don't trust them. They're breaking my heart. Don't trust them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it.
Okay.
I mean, unless they decide to like actively like have ownership that's actually going to spend.
Nope, because John Fisher's trying to figure out how to get his barn paid for with the Oakland A's. And
John Fisher might not even get all that across the line.
Nope.
I need people to chill out when we talk about new stadiums and teams moving. First of all, in the DC area, they blew a giant cannonball-shaped hole right at the water line of that ship that was going to be moving the Caps and the Wizards. So that's not happening. I need everyone to pull back on the reins on this talk of NHL to Atlanta. Like, it's great that you have someone up there stumping in a striped suit and, doing the vaudeville act.
Mm-hmm.
But until you actually get the board of governors and NHL to agree to something, to agree on anything, slow your roll.
Because they're not building it until they get the expansion franchise, and that's traditionally not how this works.
No, it's not. You are getting a chicken versus egg argument the entire time.
Yeah.
And then I am eternally amused if this Oakland thing, if the A's thing collapses for the owners.
Yes.
Like, I feel bad for the people of Oakland.
Yeah.
I'm going to eventually feel bad for the people of Las Vegas because they're getting jerked around on this.
Yep.
And they're trying to figure out, how much they're going to have to pay in public funds for this. And we'll see if it even goes through.
Right.
In the time being, the Earthquakes are just over here suffering from some talent-related famine.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Carlos Vela will not be a part of the fixing of that, apparently, on the free side of Apple TV. So I'm guessing that Jared is picking Vancouver. Maddie, what say you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. We're gonna go Vancouver.
All right, so Maddie's going Vancouver as well. 3 matches on Sunday because of Triple C fever, and it starts off with Cincy and DC at 3:00 on Season Pass at TQL. It will be interesting to see what the lineup will be for FC Cincinnati in this one. as we take a peek at the lineup from last night and the loss to Rayados, and stare at the starting 11s here as I sit here and try to figure out. It's like, where's my starting 11? Okay, starting 11 against Rayados in the Triple C. Celentano in net. Looks like it was a 5-3-2, 3-5-2. Take your pick. Kubo, Murphy, Miazga, Miles, DeAndre Yedlin. Wobodo, Lucho Acosta, Buca, and Baird and Bupenza up top. So this was first choice. It makes you wonder what Cincinnati is going to look like on the weekend. Do they rotate, or because they have to go to Monterrey for the second leg and try to get some work done, do they rotate in this one against DC, which is on season pass? What do they do here, Jarrett? What's your gut tell you?
It's one of those things that it's tough for these teams that play Champions League, but we also have to take into account the quality of the game that they are playing at any given time and how much they have to work. Like New England played in the midweek. New England also walked to a 4-0 win.
Correct.
Cincinnati played in the midweek. Cincinnati had to bust their ass to try and come back up a man. They failed, but they burned a lot of energy. We'll get to Miami and Nashville because they just they tried to murder each other last night. Most of the murdering attempt, most of that attempt was on the Miami side, who were really lucky they didn't end that game with 9 players. By all reason, they should have ended that game with at most 10 players, possibly 9 players. It was pretty damn pathetic. Let's see how much gas since he's got in the tank. And maybe you sit back a little bit in the game and you kind of pick your spots, because not only do you have to manage the fact that you played in the midweek, but you have this game. Then you have to go to Monterrey next week in the midweek. Monterrey has the away goal. So you have to go find a goal, keep a clean sheet, try and find 2 goals. And I know Cincinnati people are very bullish right now, and I understand why they feel that way.
Yep.
But how much this is one of those, I think you don't completely punt on the weekend, but it's not your focus.
No, not a bit. So
I'll take them losing this game, but even in any time like a team that's in the round of 16 or higher in CONCACAF Champions League loses a league game, I really don't care. Like I'm not going to crucify them for it, because their focus is where it should be, which is CONCACAF Champions Cup.
So right now, Maddie, Jared is looking at DC United at a plus 274. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I am too. I think DC United can come out on top with this one. Just because since he's gassed, they played that midweek game. They played pretty much their full starting roster. I mean, they might not be gassed. They might want to win. They might do that. But I mean, I think DC could do it, especially with the way DC has been kind of coming out in the past couple of games. I could see it.
A lot of offense from them, so we'll see what the word is when it comes to that particular matchup. Also on your Sunday at 3:00, dueling 3:00 matchups on Season Pass. Nashville SC hosting LAG. LAG comes into the barn. Plus 122 Nashville, so a home favorite, even after what happened and the energy that they expended on Thursday night. So basically, today's a regen day, and you get into the film room, and Gary says, you see that guy Pencil? Make him not score. Gabriel Peck, he doesn't score either. Jovic, the big guy in the middle, he doesn't score. You thought they were going to park the bus on Thursday? They're going to take the whole Laredo garage, and they're going to put it in front of Joe Willis and his lovely Farrell's restaurant mustache. Nashville's a plus 122. The Galaxy are north of plus 200. Your draw is a plus 265. What say you, Jared Smith?
I don't trust Nashville right now. Yeah, man. Like, here's the thing. Like, that's a loss last night for Nashville. Call it what it is. Because you had a 2-goal lead.
Yep, you did,
and you spit the bit. And like I said, You should have been playing against 10, possibly against 9.
Mm-hmm.
But you're a team built on defense and that counter. You can't blow a 2-goal lead at home. You can't give Miami those 2 goals, those 2 road goals, because CCC still values the road goal and it is the tiebreaker. You can't give Miami that. Also, you pissed off Messi. He's going to try and drop 4 or 5 goals on
Yeah,
you
you
next
did.
week
You
down
did,
in Fort
brother.
Lauderdale.
Yeah.
It just depends on the health. I'm not picking him for this game though.
Yeah. Maddie, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly shocked that they didn't come out with, I'm shocked that Messi didn't like come in and just swing at him after that one little thing. I mean, seriously. I think they're bruised, they're battered. I think they're coming into this game tired, especially because of the way the game played yesterday. That is one of the biggest things too with Nashville that I also have the biggest gripe with Miami. They can score, but they give up leads.
They ain't got no defense.
They got no defense. Defense not there. Where is it? Non-existent.
Yes.
So I think I'm going LA Galaxy for this one too.
All right. So here's your starting 11 for Nashville last night. Willis, Lovitz, McNaughton, and they do it numerically. So this is in numerical order. Willis, Lovitz, McNaughton, Hani Mukhtar, Tyler Boyd, Jacob Schaffelberg, who was a pain to deal with, and we've known this since his time with Toronto FC too. Shaq Moore, Alex Muil, Anibal Godoy, Walker Zimmerman, and Sean Davis. On the bench, Panico, Mar, Sadic, Teal Bunbury, Drew Yearwood, Mackenzie Gaines, Forster Ajago, who is not available for Major League Soccer, Bauer, Washington, Todd Ryan Anunga, and Brent Coleman. So that was the lineup and your starters last night for Nashville as they went up against Messi and friends. The last match on the board just happens to have Messi and friends. It is Inter Miami at home against Laurent Courtois and CF Montreal. This one's on season pass, 5 o'clock, so a 5:10 kick from South Florida. Juice boxes, Inter Miami, Inter Messi, heavy favorite at a -182. Your draws a +337. CF Montreal on the winning side of the ledger in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, is a +438. What say you, Jarrett Smith?
Montreal.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm guessing because you are calling for Tata to go heavy rotation for this particular match.
You're gonna have to rotate some of these guys who don't have legs anymore. Yes.
Okay.
Again, you ship the weekend games.
Mm-hmm.
You ship them for the fact that they are going to pour their entire soul into removing Nashville from existence next week.
Yeah. So that's that is going to be the fun part in this one. And so Maddie, what about you in this one? What are you thinking?
They're not Miami, I think, is going to be plotting Nashville's downfall. I think they're going to be like absolutely in the middle of the Montreal game, be planning how they can just absolutely take down Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm going to say it's either going to tie. I don't know how it's going to tie, but I think it's going to tie. But if Montreal does win, Joseph hat trick.
Okay. It's off the rails. Why the hell not? All right. So your starting lineup for Messi and friends last night in Nashville. Allegedly, it was a 5-3-2. But once again, we talk formations and they're just numbers because the second the ball is kicked, all bets are off. Drake Callender between the sticks. Backline, Noah Allen, Nikola Freire, Krivtsov, Avilas, and Julian Gressel, adding right wing back once again to his dossier. Midfield, Diego Gomez, Sergi Busquets, and Federico Redondo, who got a yellow card. Welcome to CONCACAF Champions League. And then Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi up top. But we know that Messi wasn't really up top with Luis Suarez. So that was the starting 11 for Inter Messi last night. And in substitutions, you ended up with Ruiz coming in. Julian Gressel played 80. Lawson Sunderland came in for Redondo at 90+2. So only 2 substitutes, and everybody played a lot going up against Nashville in that match. So, Jarrett, I think Jarrett and Maddie are both thinking punt when it comes to that particular matchup this weekend, and that is your rundown. That's the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. Short of one match, and it's Atlanta United and the Revs at 7:30. 7:40 kick. Why don't you just say 7:40 on the website? I mean, seriously, just say 7:40. I mean, you've gone from a 9-minute pregame to a 10-minute pregame, and it's on season pass. And once again, Jake and TT are on the call. Atlanta 0-1. They got to watch everybody else. New England's 0-2, and they lost to Toronto last weekend, then took care of business in CONCACAF in the midweek, and now they travel down to Mercedes-Benz to have to deal with 43,000 screaming lunatics in the building for the first time here in 2024. Jarrett, in this match, what are you looking for from both sides?
Looking to get a quick start if you're Atlanta, because you need to put a team that isn't exhausted, because again they kind of walked through their game without a Wednesday, but you need to put them on the back foot and get them chasing early. You need to limit Carl Seal. You're not going to stop him. This is like the old age-old argument that we do that eternally pisses me off. That we can sit here, and people will sit there and talk about, oh, so and so, you gotta contain him. He's amazing. Why didn't you contain him? Because he's amazing.
Yes,
we can have a tautology about this.
Yes,
but you have to limit him,
mm-hmm.
and it's tough. But you need to get up early in this game. You need to put New England on the back foot. Ideally, you would love to put this game away at halftime.
Yep. Where
they just kind of take another step back and go, let's just deal with Wednesday. It'd be great. It doesn't feel as salty as some of the other rivalries you have.
Right.
But I think there is like a certain amount of you would like to punish Caleb Porter for all the times he has rolled a team in here in Columbus and just refused to play.
Yeah.
Because usually you gave up an early goal and you gave him that option.
Yeah. So deny Caleb Porter the opportunity to shush the opposition. Maddie, what are you hunting for?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing. I want to see us come out hungry, and I want to see us coming out looking better than we did in the first half of Columbus. I mean, we've had a week bye. Mm-hmm. We've had a second to kind of really take the time in training to really get to know each other and know what's going to happen. And I mean, capitalize on the fact that Revolution's coming into this match a little bit tired. And I think exactly like Jarrett said, you want to try to put this away in the first half. You want to try to maybe get a goal or two on them. That way it's hard to trace it back. And I think that's what's going to put us ahead if we can do that.
So that's what you're staring at. I know that a lot of folks were letting us know what they were thinking about it. Jordan thinks Atlanta wins and a fail for Foxborough losing to Toronto. Dell mentions that Inter Messi has a 62% win probability at home. Remember how difficult it is to win on the road in Major League Soccer in general anyway. Last year it was 2 out of every 7 getting full points for a team on the road. So Miami, 5 out of 8. If you roll the dice 8 times, 5 times it comes up Inter Messi. And so we'll see what happens there. Hutch is singing songs about Luis Suarez. And Dell, in discussing Messi and friends, he says he's loving the players that are giving it to Messi and friends like Cerrillo and Godoy. Like I said, Anibal Godoy wasn't stopping for anybody or anything, and he didn't care who he was jawing with, even if it was the greatest player on this or any other planet. But I'm still to the point that the two of you were making. I think that Lucas McNaughton in the second leg, Jarrett, of this particular series, when Nashville goes down to South Florida, Lucas McNaughton might be in the crosshairs for somebody.
He will be, and because one of the things that made me mad last night was when you get that one kerfuffle between them.
Yeah.
It happens because Tyler Boyd goes down with an injury. He gets banged up in a collision. Nobody from Nashville stops when he goes down. Because they have the numbers, they have the advantage. They play on. They chose to play on, and they don't score. Ball goes back the other way, and then they're pleading with Miami to play the ball out.
Yeah,
good on Miami for not playing the ball out.
Yeah,
because if Nashville with the ball sees their guy down and they continue to attack, all bets are off.
Yeah.
You are under no obligation to play the ball out after they have chosen to attack while down a man. They can defend down a man. And then everybody got mad in a kerfuffle, and it is complete belly aching on the Nashville side with that. If he's that hurt, play the ball out.
Yeah.
And that was one of the dumber reasons for everyone to fight, although these teams clearly do just absolutely despise each other.
Yes, they're not happy with each other, and leg 2 should be extra spicy. Looking forward to it. A couple of other notes. Tom reminds us the NHL votes on the 26th for expansion, so we'll see if the third time gets the expansion. A friend of ours from the lower leagues letting us know on the 280 character app that they think that Emmons Zayat and the Northern Colorado Hailstorm are going to win USL League One this year. So once again, it's the kickoff for USL League One. 3 matches this weekend. Then the schedule will continue to grow. Next weekend, full weekend in USL Championship. It was great to catch up with Michael Parkhurst as Rhode Island FC gets another week to prepare. They've got their home opener and their franchise opener next Saturday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Bryant there in Rhode Island. So it was fun to catch up with them about USL League One and USL Championship. If you missed it, the interview that Maddie did with Mark McKeever, the head coach of One Knox, they get the week off as well. Mike Jeffries, the head coach and general manager of Charlotte Independence, that's on the network as well. And they play each other next week at American Legion. So that one's going to be a fun one. Great interviews there as well. Ricky, I think 6-0-1. Don't lose opening matches at the Benz. That won't change tomorrow. And it looks like in the short term that you're back to the lot that you were in if you're the supporters. And so really looking forward to that. Yes, Ricky, thank you. 6-0-1 for that as well. All right, what to watch, where to watch it. Also, this weekend is a big one in England. And I'm not talking about Bournemouth and Sheffield United. Sunday, 11:45 Eastern time. Remember, spring forward. Spring forward, spring forward, spring forward. Remember your clocks Saturday night after you get back from the Atlanta United match. Spring forward is this weekend. 11:45, Liverpool and Manchester City. City is a favorite going into Anfield at a plus 127. Draws a plus 279. Liverpool is a plus 200 at home, a decided underdog at home. The big matchup in the Premier League this week. Manchester United, Everton, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Luton, Wolves, Fulham, Arsenal, and Brentford. That's your Saturday. Your Sunday, Villa hosts Spurs, Brighton hosting Forest, West Ham hosting Burnley, Liverpool, Manchester City. Spot shadow that one. Circle it. Make sure that you've got your brunch already, 11:45 on Sunday. Monday Night Football is Chelsea hosting Newcastle, and Bournemouth and Luton make up the suspended match from the Tom Lockyer health scare, and that one is going to be on a Wednesday, and they're going to that match is going to get picked up on Wednesday, and a couple of matches next weekend have been postponed because of cup competitions and such. So big week this week, and a makeup game on the 13th in the Premier League. Now, before we go, what to watch, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo for the leagues outside of the one here in this particular country. So, Thomas Tuchel has targeted a return to Chelsea, according to our friends at Sky Germany. But he's also interested in Manchester United and Barcelona. Go ahead and set your sights high. Go for it. Liverpool's owners met with Michael Edwards on Sunday in their attempts to convince their former sporting director to come back after Jurgen Klopp leaves. Mikel Arteta says his side's impressive form in front of goal will not change the club's transfer plans. They still want to sign a striker in the summer. Oleksandr Zinchenko is a target for Newcastle and Bayern Munich. The Gunners want €38.5 million for the Ukrainian international. Chelsea, among several Premier League clubs, monitoring Bilbao's striker Nico Williams, who's got a €50 million release clause in his contract. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Barcelona want to extend Joao Cancelo's loan for next year. Manchester City would prefer a permanent transfer. Premier League and Saudi pro sides interested in the 29-year-old fullback. The agent of Georgian winger Kavichka Kvaratskhelia, meaning European, not this state, because Kvaratskhelia, last time I checked, they got to hang around down near Adel when he was growing up. 23-year-old will leave Napoli if the Italian club gets an offer that they can't turn down. Manchester United expected to block Mason Greenwood from going on the club's preseason tour of the U.S. after he returns from his loan spell with Getafe. Greenwood also on the list of possible signings for Barcelona, who've already made a move towards a low-cost deal this summer. Chelsea, reliant on pure profit sales this summer to fund their transfer plans because, yeah, they need to. Focused on offloading Conor Gallagher, Trevor Chalobah, and Armando Broja. Made a winger a priority, looking at Crescencio Somerville from Leeds. Owners are also under pressure from a Strasbourg fan group to change their transfer strategy after having had an underwhelming season since Blueco 22 acquired a majority stake in the club last June. Manchester United initial talks about extending Kobe Mainoo's contract after his form. Host of Premier League and foreign clubs tracking Birmingham City's under-16 striker Toby Ugorji, who qualifies for England and Nigeria. Everton in pole position to sign 16-year-old Irish forward Mason Melia from St. Patrick's Athletic. And once again, we talked about Leicester yesterday, where they could possibly start the Premier League season if they get promoted with a points deduction for breaching Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, because they are well under debt. They're well on the minus side when it comes to what they have been spending in the last couple of years. All right, what to watch, where to watch it today. Obviously, you got Premier League, and we went over what to watch when it comes to Major League Soccer on the weekend. So today only, other than the matchups at 5:30 and 7:30, Collins Hill and Mill Creek on the network, and that's audio, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. BN and BN en Español have a league on at 3 o'clock, Nice and Montpellier. If you don't have BN, you can get BN at fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. You get all the stuff. All the degenerate stuff is there for you. CDO for the fans, Nuestra Tele, all the BNs, Liga 1 Max, Sudamericana, Libertadores, it's all there. And you really, Gold TV, it's all there. So fanatisfntz.co/soccer down here. FS2, 10 o'clock, Juarez and Toluca. Deportes, ESPN Deportes at 3, Barcelona and Mallorca. Fox Deportes, very, very busy. Serie B at 2:30, Liga MX at 10, Liga MX Femenil, Atlas and Pumas at 6, ESPN Plus today, Eredivisie at 2 o'clock with the go-ahead Eagles, one of the best names out there. English Championship, Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds at 3, Bundesliga 2:20, Bundesliga B at 12:30, and Barcelona and Mallorca at 3. Fox Soccer Plus has Serie B at 2:30, Serie A, Napoli and Torino at 2:45. All right, last thoughts before we go for yet another week, before we get ready for the weekend. And Dell, I've still got to set my fantasy league for this week, although I do have to flip Kieran Trippier because he's going to be out the next 2 weeks. David, if anyone wants the flag dropped, email him with the username here, Gmail domain at Who Took My Thrash on the 280-character app. Jarrett, last thoughts from you before we go.
Enjoy the weekend. Let's see who from CCC can actually survive. Word as well that out of Charlotte, Leila Bada probably won't be playing this week, or I wouldn't bet next week either. Right. Not anything bad. He had to go back to reports out of Scotland. He had to go back to Israel to get his biometric passport done. Probably one of those things where you have to go into the country on you're on like a visitor's visa. You have to leave the country and then come back in on your proper work visa.
Okay.
There's weird things. Like if you remember, Gigi did that when he came here.
Yes, that's true.
Because he came in up north, then went back to Toronto to watch a Raptors game, and then had to come back into the country on his regular work visa because visas are weird. So I don't expect Abada this week. I don't know if I expect him next week. It's not a bad thing. They've already announced him. It's not like the deal's falling apart. You just have to go through all the red tape.
Correct. Maddie, what else is on your mind before we go? We got a couple of breaking news things before we go, but what else is on your mind?
It's going to be a fun MLS weekend. I'm excited. Update on the MLS Fantasy League. I got the code.
There you go.
Watch out. My name is cruising through the ranks. So watch out.
There you go. Looking forward to that. Apparently, all right, a couple of bolos before we go. North Carolina Courage are going to compete in the TST women's division. Jessica McDonald is going to captain the Courage team in pursuit of the $1 million take-all prize. Note from USL Championship, the Rowdies have added former Orlando City midfielder Joey Desart for the 2024 season. So good pickup for the Rowdies. And in one of the biggest no-duh moves that we've seen in recent memory, RSL has signed Diego Luna to a long-term contract extension. 5-year deal, keeps him in town guaranteed through the 26 season. Club options for 27 and 28. So easiest move on the board for RSL to keep Diego Luna under lock and key for the next couple of seasons. Looking forward to seeing everybody tonight. Collins Hill and Mill Creek. We'll see you in Hushton, 5:30 and 7:30. Jason will have the girls. I'll have the boys. Jason's going to be on first thing in the morning with Sam or with Greg. And so early morning, 92.9 The Game. Jason will be there and looking at everything going on in the sports world and trying to see with Greg's casting call what else is going on. 92.9 The Game, 929thegame.com. Pre, half, and post. It's Abe and Garrett with pre. Mike and Jason join them. Then it's going to be a little help from Garth Lagerway. You've got the match with Mike and Jason. Then post game after. It's going to be the full broadcast experience with our friends at 92.9 The Game, and we'll catch up with Abe and Garrett on Monday morning. Looking to see everybody out at the SG lot. Looking forward to seeing everybody in the building. Maddie, since it's the end of the week, ladies first, and we believe in chivalry here, send us home.
Oh, I get to send it home?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, have a great weekend and always fun. And I hope you guys stay safe and enjoy the home opener at Atlanta United. Vamos ATL.
Mucho Platiel, play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means we get to do this. 5:30, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. It is Collins Hill and Mill Creek, Region 8 7A. See you there.